Okay. This is a go down the line question. Terra Frost, Jim is here, but he said he doesn't want to ask this question, so I'll do it for him. That's why I get paid the big bucks, I guess. What he asked, what is, I lost it. Maybe you should have asked it. All right, what is the main thing you got out of working with phpBB? I think, did I paraphrase that right? Yeah. Okay. What's the kind of the thing best thing you've gotten out of working with phpBB?
Well, tonight we're going to get free beer. So there's that.
Well, I myself took phpBB as a learning ground for PHP itself. So I credit the version 2, right, with most of the beginning of the knowledge I've gained about PHP. Then phpBB 3 came around, and the strict coding well, not strict, but the coding guidelines we use in phpBB 3 have actually helped improve the code in my own job, where I've actually applied what I've learned from the code to the code I create at work. So in that regard, it's helped.
Yeah, I never, before I got in, I came in at 2.14, and I never even heard of PHP or any of that. I just dealt with static HTML, actually built with Dreamweaver at the time. And then have learned, hey, I learned a little bit about Apache and PHP and CSS, HTML, and it's just grown from there. Just all aspects of the phpBB interface has I've gained knowledge on.
I can really only echo what David said. When I first used phpBB, I didn't know much, and then I started hacking around with Mike's attachment mod and failed miserably. But it was easier than working with movable type, which is what I tried to work on first. A Perl blogging script, in case you don't remember when that was actually popular. So yeah, basically the same thing David said has been a help to, has been an incentive, let's put it that way, to learning the PHP standard library and learning C, so I could look at the PHP source and make sense of it, and so forth.
I'll echo pretty much that. When I started, didn't really know much at all, and I've grown with PHP, and also kind of expanded, I guess, outside of PHP now. But just things like even coding style and so on has always been important with PHP, and so since that's really how I learned the language, I've also learned proper coding style, as opposed to some people who start with other projects and use their coding style, and then that's the coding style that they use for the rest of their lives, which can sometimes be completely scary. So there are lots of good things to be said about learning with a project of competent people, as opposed to just by yourself or with a project of incompetent people. So.
Well, I knew no coding when I started, and I still don't, so I can't comment on that aspect of what I've learned. I've learned some SQL, but the thing that I've gotten out of working with phpBB is really more kind of a cultural and social phenomenon. I think many of our users and team members and people here are young enough to not remember when mechanisms for social interaction that have promulgated from the internet did not exist. And when I was a kid and I had to walk 2 miles to school in the snow uphill both ways and catch my own food, you didn't know. You knew the kids on your block. I mean, that was the extent of your social domain. And now we have people here, that are from all over the country, all over the world, of a wide variety of ages, and it's fascinating to me as someone who spent a lot of time before there was an internet to enjoy the benefits of those kinds of interactions.
One quick question. I want to put Raimon on the spot here. We don't generally hear a lot in this community about the Styles team. And we certainly haven't heard anything about it so far here today. Can you tell us about what it's like to be a Styles team member and how maybe someone could get involved in that team?
It's pretty nice. Yeah, only a bit hard work, validation, and support to keep touch, keep an eye on the support style support forum. One of more. So that's
Keep going.
all right. The most, that's basically everything what I want to say.
Okay, so I'm opening a can of worms now, I hear. So back in the days of phpBB 2, phpBB got a bit of a reputation of being really insecure, lots of vulnerabilities. And what I'm noticing, at least in the general PHP world, is that phpBB still has that reputation. So how are there any initiatives to make sure that phpBB loses that reputation, and if so, what kind of initiatives are there?
As I mentioned, we were actually in Portland just very recently, and we also kind of expected, because in the past that has been, we've heard a lot about the first question being when people come up to us is, does PHPB still suck as much as it used to? And so we came prepared. We actually had laminated sheets of security reports showing how secure phpB3 is, and we didn't really have to use them at all. So there were, I think, 2 people who asked that question, and we just answered that question to them because we felt that it wasn't enough of a big deal that we would have to point them to the sheet, and we just kind of, So I think that's changing as people are using phpB3 more and more. And coming back to phpB3, I think enough time has passed now that people are willing to give it a second chance. And so now that when they see it, there aren't any vulnerabilities. We don't have, our release cycle is not based on when the next vulnerability is going to be found. And so anyone who takes another look at phpB3 won't have that problem at all, and they'll see it for what it is. And it's definitely the most secure bulletin board system. And recently, a study by Qualys actually found that it's the most secure of any open source software that they tested. So that's.
I think a lot of users mistakenly confuse spam bot issues with security issues, and a lot of them will post that way. And I think if you go back and look at the 2.0 archives, I would say this is probably hyperbole, but every 3rd question or so was about spam bots and how to defeat them. And if you look in the phpB3 support forum, you don't see much of that anymore. So I think, all bulletin boards had that problem at that time, but phpBB was becoming more popular, so it offended a larger number of users who had confused the spam bot issue with a security issue. And I think it's pretty apparent that at phpB3, if you deploy it properly, it's trivial to stop spam bots.
Yeah, people will, I mean, that's a separate issue, as you mentioned. Security and spam bots are kind of a completely separate thing, and people will use that term interchangeably. But yeah, I mean, spam was also an issue with phpB2, and I think not so much with phpB3. Still an issue just as well. I mean, it's still an issue, but it's not more of an issue than other projects that are also having the same problems, which, I mean, you can't get away from it completely. Even email and so on has, been completely unable to eliminate that problem. So yeah, spam is here to stay, I think.
To paraphrase I'm King David, ooh, what date is 3.1 going to be released? Ooh, 111, ooh. Any answer to that?
1, 2, 3. When it's ready.
There is a question about if PHPB is intending to compete with other paid or unpaid bulletin board software. I would amend to that, do you guys even consider PHPBB as competing with other bulletin board software? Although I do know Colón is trying to do a whole bunch of benchmarking on that, so maybe he can chime in too. He doesn't want to.
Competing is, I mean, clearly there is a competition for users, except we don't get much back from one particular user. you know, if we have 50,000 downloads this week, I have no idea what the actual number is, but if we have 50,000 downloads this week, we'll probably get 700 support questions, and that's about it back. So while we want to remain competitive and not become irrelevant, there's not a massive competition like you have between vBulletin and Envision PowerBoard to be the bulletin board has the most features, including a blog and Facebook and yes, a pony. Let's put a pony in. And a kitchen sink and Boeing 787 aircraft.
Keep going, keep going.
Yes, I'm done. Anybody else?
How about any last thoughts to wrap up this session? Just last things that maybe you guys are thinking about that you'd like to see happen. What do you want to see happen in the phpBB community before the next time we come together for another Vasion somewhere? Just a way to help wrap this up.
We've been focusing a lot on trying to get the community involved, so that's what we'd like to see for the most part. Get the community more involved, be it the modifications, be it styles. We're trying to open up as much as we can to the community. We've also implemented things like bridges. If anybody has ideas for bridges, I just saw a WordPress question. If we're going to do a bridge for that, most likely. Stuff like that is very welcome from the community. You just have to speak up.
I'm done. You covered it. I mean, to answer that previous question about competition, I think we do compete, as Josh said, in terms of from what users can choose from. But we get enough feedback from our community that we don't have to look at what other communities are doing and copy their stuff, because chances are it's already occurred to us, and the only reason it hasn't been implemented is because, well, there's only so much that the development team can put into the product and so on. And if there was an unlimited amount of resources, we could make PHP a lot better. We could, have PHP 4 out in 6 months, and it could have, it would be a lot better than anything else that's out there right now. But I think it's better to have a slower development cycle and a better quality product than to just put every feature in possible, release an update every month, and then have it just stop working after 50 people are on the site. So.
And remember, you heard it here first from the operations manager. phpBB 4 will be out in 6 months. Woohoo! Just kidding.
Oh. You can wrap it up.
Okay, well, thanks to all the people here and all the people on IRC for participating in this panel discussion. I hope it was of some interest to all, and it made me start thinking about some interesting things. So again, thanks everyone, and thanks to the panel members. Goodbye.